Okay. I just want to move the debate on, in the interest of time, to the future of shared services and the role of HR. I think it would be great if we could just all have some concluding thoughts about that, and I'll start with you, John.
Yeah, thanks. So thinking about the future of HR and HR shared services, I mean, I would say there's a huge amount of disruption in the market and for us as HR professionals in terms of what's happening at the moment and what's driving change. Cloud technology is the most significant thing which is impacting how services to employees and managers are delivered currently, and it's going to continue for the next 10, 15 years and beyond. I think many organisations have taken advantage of labour arbitrage, lower wage costs in different locations around the world, but that's gradually been eroded, gradually being eroded in many locations. And I think the main change that we'll see is not a shift away from shared services. I think the concept, the value of it is here to stay. But I think we'll see much more automation, much more focus on talent and value add activities, and much more focus on data and analytics and the things that you can do when your technology is in place.
Okay, Daniel?
I think probably the next 2 to 4 years there'll be sort of, a greater and greater focus on sort of on automation of sort of HR processes, and that will continue. Then I think as talent becomes scarce and markets recover, I think the pendulum will come swinging completely back the other way, and we'll see sort of a lot of these well thought through sort of plans. I think we'll sort of see more HR people sitting in front of organisations, in front of people again, because I think that sort of the demands will have shifted in business.
Okay, Tim?
Yeah, I think broadly I'd agree with it, that with the comments that we are, that it is the next stage, really the automation stage, is to look at, okay, once we've centralised, what happens next as far as automation, and how do we take the tactical activities and make them more strategic. So how do you get to that value add? And also it'll be interesting to see just how much can get brought in. How much will be taken to the shared service centre, and will there be a requirement to have some local support too? And equally in the shared services, I think it's almost what's going to happen next as well. I mean, there's a lot of organisations that have gone through F&A on the finance side. Now we're looking at HR, it's becoming more and more prevalent. IT is in there. But I'm working with some organisations who are starting to look at marketing and sales in a global business services, in a shared service centre environment. So it's what else can get brought in, and that will partly depend upon how successful it is seen in that centralisation and really getting to the value add services to free up the time and deliver the value back to the business.
Okay.
So I think in terms of the future of HR that there's 4 capabilities that are going to be really important. One's around being real talent professionals and helping bring the right expertise in to drive the business forward. I think the other one is about supporting the business to manage change. I think change is this huge constant that we all face at the moment, and providing the right expertise to help manage line managers and employees through that is critical. I think there's something about providing operational excellence, and that's, I think, where shared services comes in, which is an important kind of capability for the future. And then it's reinforcing the culture of the organisation and the employment brand as part of that, and making sure that the right values permeate, and I think HR plays a really critical role in being the guardian of that.
Okay, Bernd?
I would like to reflect a little bit on another aspect of the shared services, and that is about further integration. I strongly believe that we will see further integration of shared services between finance operations, HR operations, IT, back office, and IT support, because ultimately the employee doesn't want to think about whether they have got an HR question, a question that relates to finance, or a question if they have access issues, if that is IT, network, or HR, or whatsoever. They want to have it in one hand, and they want to go to what I would call a one-stop shop with their questions to get their queries resolved. And that, I think, will be the future, and we will drive towards that, to have that in a global business service environment, that we have one place for people to go and to get the service that they need.
Valerie?
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's going to be definitely a move to more alignment of the different functions, so they come together and look at processes across the organisation, much more obviously continuing to automate everything possible, utilising the data. Sometimes we're guilty of producing a lot of MI but not really analysing it, and I think that's a key skill area that we need to get more and more HR people comfortable to do. So I think having got that bedrock in place, then it's giving the space that you can then work on things like employee engagement and maximising productivity, and then of course talent, making sure you've got the right people in the right place at the right time. I don't think necessarily there'll be a whole increased drive to outsourcing. It's my personal view. I think outsourcing's got some merits in some places, but I don't see a sudden whole-scale drive to outsourcing.
Okay, Graham?
I may be different. My vision for HR in the future, that it will be much smaller than it is now. I think the measure and the assessment of the quality of HR in future will not be about how many people we have, it will be about the level of influence we have on the organisations that we're part of. I think our line managers are growing almost daily in stature and ability, and I think that they will gradually take over much of the work that we currently do in terms of hand-holding. For me, the measure of HR in future will be that HR has to become a philosophy, not a department, and that the essence of what we've talked about in terms of career succession planning, around staff engagement, things are about how we will influence our organisations. We won't do it.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank today's panellists for all their views and Perceptive Software for supporting this event. We hope you found it useful, and HR Magazine will continue to cover shared services as the model evolves. I'm Arvind Hickman. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye.